Welcome to Sence Valley Forest Park. I am about to go for a little run around the course to show you what you can expect when you come and run with us at Sence Valley Country Park. I'm filming this in the middle of June, just before it's about to get very, very hot in 2026. But yeah, bear that in mind if you are running with us in the autumn or the winter or spring or whatever. Obviously it'll look a little bit different, but up here won't. So this is the main car park, and this is where we will be sort of positioning ourselves. Just behind me there is the toilet block, and also a sort of small car park that will be where HQ is, and in that car park you may be able to see the coffee trailer as well, which hopefully will be with us on event days whenever we are here as well. It'd be lovely for that to be the case. That is very much the plan. There is another car park that is down the bottom of that hill, which potentially, if the event sells nicely, then you may need to use. It is only, I don't know, a 3-minute walk, but it is down the bottom of a big hill. But if it does get full up the top here, then that is what we'll need to use. As soon as you start, you're pretty much going downhill. I'll show you the downhill. This is the downhill, but as with any hill, whatever goes down must go up. Not the right saying, but underfoot, crunchy, hard-packed trails and deep in the woods. As you come down into what is essentially the bottom of the old coal mine, I assume it's a coal mine, it's an old mine anyway, you start to see one of the handful of sort of little ponds, little lakes that are all around here. Very, very beautiful. You do have to climb up here, but obviously because you're climbing up, if you then turn around, you've got quite a nice view behind you. Again, as you can see underfoot, really clear, defined crushed stone path, so you can very, very, very much be road shoes in this sort of weather in the middle of summer. If it's not the middle of summer, maybe see what I've said about the underfoot conditions on the lead up to the event. I can't promise there'll be swans and cygnets every time you're here, but every time I do come here, I do happen to see the swans, whether that's just my luck or if they are here a lot. But just be mindful, obviously stay clear of the swans, give them a wide berth. But again, you can tell why they come here, because great big open pools, and this is just after the sort of little dog leg, I guess, and then we are going through the middle of the park, quite flat, and getting towards some of the dry stone walls that are really, really beautiful along here. As with all forestry England places, as you go round, you can see the effects of their management. After a couple of years, it all grows back. They are heavily managed woods. They cut the tree to timber. They know what they're doing, but when they do it the first time, or when it's only just been done, it looks like a massive eyesore. But like I say, once you give it even 6 months, but once it's been a couple of years, the new stuff they plant grows through. It's just how these woods are meant to work. But it does really quite stick out when you do see it the first time. Go over a handful of tiny little bridges here as the water sort of has to come into the ponds and lakes in the middle. And I think all of them, if not all of them, definitely the majority, are the stone variety. So they're all very pretty to run along, especially if you're not from around here. You don't see dry stone walls. It really sort of stands out, gives you something to run for, something different to look at. After about a mile and a half, just under a mile and a half, you take a left turn and then you start to go up. And it starts off, I'll go backwards again, it starts off quite gradually, but it does sort of kick as you get towards the top, and the top you can see from here isn't the top either, so you sort of keep going So I'd suggest leaving a little bit in the tank, not quite going all out for it, and seeing how you get on. As you hit the top of that little climb, you then cross what is technically a farm track, so just be mindful because potentially there are cars coming, and you come out into what I'd refer to, I think, as the centenary area. So when we were here in 2019, the last time we were here, this section was an even forest, so all of these trees that you'll see when you get to this area have all been planted in 2019 to commemorate 100 years of forestry England. And so all this area behind us, none of you will have run there, well, at least not with Big Bear, because all of this was just open field when we were here last time. The majority of the route is on the surface that you can see, and the surface you've seen so far, which is crushed stone. And obviously in the middle of June, road shoes are absolutely fine. It'll get mucky because like if it's wet or it's the winter or spring or whatever, but it is still fundamentally on stones. However, I'm going to go a little bit further into the section, and then I'm going to turn into that woodland up there, and then the surface changes. Today, while I'm recording this, it'll be absolutely fine in road shoes, although I've got my trusty Ultra Lone Peaks on. But if the weather's wet or it's sort of wet season, then potentially it might get a bit slippy, but I'll show you that bit in a moment. As you come through the centenary section, you do a right turn, and then you're onto proper grass. So you can see behind me the surface that you're going to be running on. This section is probably only about, I don't know, 100 meters, and then you get into the actual woods, which of course is going to be less grass, I guess a bit more sort of stony mud, as it were. But you can see them behind me, all of the trees that have been planted, all fresh growth. They're obviously growing this woodland to make it into what I would call a proper woodland, big trees. And so it's nice to come, and then every year you see the trees get bigger and bigger, and you see how the forest and the woodland develops. At the top of that grass area is then this area here, this section here, where it is just mud. You are running through the woods, so if it is very wet in the lead up to the event that you're coming to, this section could be a little treacherous in road shoes. Trail shoes might be better advised, but it is quite short. It's about 10 meters, and then you're back onto a bit more of a traditional forest path where, yes, it is muddy, but it's flat. There's lots of stones underneath, and so even when it's really, really wet, it should be a bit easier to move around on. But again, I would listen to and look for updates from me on the lead up to the event. If your event is in November or February, expect this bit to be muddy, and I'd suggest trail shoes would be the best idea. But who knows what sort of weather we're going to get in Britain at the moment, so yeah, look for updates closer to the time. As you get off the main entrance towards the top of the course, you then do a sharp right hand turn, and you start running through the pine forest on your way back down to the original turn. This pine forest used to be a lot thicker when we were here before, but as I've said, it's a heavily managed bit of woodland, and so they've been heavily managing this section, and so this route isn't going to be quite as well defined as it used to be, because they've had some big old stuff come through here. But you do get to run through the pine trees, which is really quite good fun, to be honest. Once you've come through the pine forest, you're then on your way back down out onto the trails again, so back where you sort of were before, and we start going essentially the other way round what is a big circle, and then back up the hill that we started on. I'm just coming through the middle of the park now. You can see behind me the paths are quite wide. Generally speaking, the whole of this place has got nice wide open paths. There are some bits that you'll be running both ways on, so it means that you'll have people in the event coming towards you as you go towards them. There's plenty of space just to move to the side, not have to break stride, and just keep on going. But just be respectful of the people around you. Obviously there'll be locals here as well. Every time I've ever been here, there's always been loads of people out. I say loads compared to other places where I don't normally see anybody. Here I'll see a handful of people normally walking their dogs, because we are quite close to housing here, despite the fact it really doesn't feel like it when you are here. It feels like you're in the middle of the woods, because you are essentially. But yeah, just be mindful of the people around you. But there's plenty of space for us all to share this wonderful place and come and run, walk or hike as far as you want to. As a general rule on these things, looking at how sweaty or out of breath I am doesn't indicate how steep or difficult something is, just my lack of fitness. However, this is a real sting in the tail, so it's probably 8% sort of hill. Really good if you want to do hill repeats or hill sprints. Not so welcome at the end of each lap. However, obviously that is the joy, because once you've walked up this bit, run for about 200 meters, we'll then be back at the start where we will have our full aid station out. Everything you could ever want. Some flat ground to lie down on and cry before you decide whether you're going to go back out again. It's probably, I don't know, 200 or 300 meters long, so not super long. Obviously, if you want to walk it, just walk it. I can't imagine there'll be many people running this at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sure some will run it the first time, but it is quite a punchy course here in terms of elevation. But really it all comes in two sections. This section, and then the area up to and through the centenary wood. The rest of it is pretty flat, but those two bits more than make up for it. And then you're back where it started. So in the car park at the top of Sence Valley Forest Park. If you would like to join us for a Big Bear event here, check out the website bigbearevents.net to see when we're next going to be here. If you're already booked in, just keep an eye on the socials to see if I've been up here in the lead up to the event. I'll definitely be up here a day or two before the event to show you what conditions are like as I mark the course, and hopefully I'll see you on a start line soon.